How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Got the extreme close-up going on there.
The change of scenery. So,
Little change of scenery. That's what my
yeah.
the rest of my living room looks like there.
Okay, cool.
The table.
Uh, Lots to talk about. Okay.
Lots to talk about.
Yeah, it's like
What do you want to
every.
start with?
Oh, sorry.
What do you want to start with?
Let's start with. Do you think Halton will eventually be in lockdown?
If we don't get a handle on community spread, then yes, we will. Of course we will. Because lockdown results from the health indicators. And right now, our health indicators are still pretty good. They're solidly in the red zone, but they're not at the threshold of lockdown. And we're starting to trend down. We just got a full report from our medical officer of health at Region of Halton. So we did have our highest day yet of single day infections at 55 about a week ago, but it's trending down. So it's really hard to know where you are because each day is a little different. And
Yeah.
if people look at the numbers today, because of that glitch in the error of data that everyone heard about, the numbers look really out of whack today. But that's the reason. It's kind of getting extra days worth of stuff in there. So I encourage people, and our medical officer of health encourage people to look at the week at a glance. I've started to post every day the numbers for people. Just, I know people are interested, so I'll do that, but really looking a week at a glance kind of gives you a picture of, is it hovering up and down? And that's really what it's been for Burlington. We had 7 new cases, which is a nice low number for us compared to where we have been, but it kind of goes up and down a little bit. So but we're coming down the mountain on the other side. But we'll see if that
Okay.
holds past Black Friday. We'll see if that holds past Christmas. The other thing that our medical officer of health shared today at our regional meeting was that the biggest source, the 2 biggest sources of spread are in the home. So
Yeah.
people are getting it in the community and bringing it home to their loved ones. And the second biggest source is social gatherings. So she issued strong recommendations weeks ago that people should limit their contact to anybody they don't live with. We have been repeating that message as often as we can. So please stay 6 feet away from anybody you don't live with. And really, you shouldn't be dining in a restaurant with anyone you don't live with, because as soon as you sit down and take your mask off, unless you're at a giant table and you can sit 6 feet apart, this is one of the sources. So it's not the restaurant that's causing it, it's the people gathering, coming close together, not in the same household. Somebody's infected and maybe doesn't know it, infecting all the people at their table. So the encouragement, again, from our medical officer of health, and we of course endorse this, is to only go out with people you live with. Only go to a
Yeah.
restaurant with people in your own household. So if we can all do that, we can get a handle on kicking this to the curb.
I've been on lockdown. I'm not going out, but I have been out a couple of times, and I moved recently, but I didn't change my license, so I can't even go out with my wife because we have different addresses, and they've asked us for that, and they're like, "Sorry." I'm like, I swear we're married, but anyways, so that's another story.
Go get a
Um,
temporary address license in all your free time.
yeah, I'm just going to stay home. So with the COVID numbers coming down in Halton and Burlington, do you see Burlington coming out of the red zone in 28 days?
I hope so, but the game changer is going to be what happens in the next 28 days. I know the temptation for people will be to gather in large family gatherings and possibly with extended family members, and I would include in that, your daughter's friend or your son's boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever. That's the risk, and so people are going to want to do that. And even if they limit to the 10 people inside, you know if you're all 10 sitting around a small table and somebody's infected, we're going to start to see those numbers spike. So people really should be only getting close to those who you live with. And I've said this before, I think on this show, the simplest rule of thumb for all of us is assume that everybody you don't live with has COVID and conduct yourself accordingly.
You may have already answered this by the answering of the last couple of questions, but how does Halton and Burlington stay out of lockdown? Is it everything you just said?
Well, I would have to say that our residents tend to follow the requests voluntarily. They do. And
Yeah.
God love them. I am so grateful because we don't have enough bylaw enforcement officers to go around and ensure that people follow the rules. And so I continue to, first of all, congratulate and thank our residents for taking those necessary steps voluntarily. It means sacrifice. We know this. We know this is tough. We know it's hard for everybody, but you've done it. You're doing it. And unfortunately, we're not out of the woods yet. We're 9 months in, and we still have to continue to do it. And so I'm reasonably comfortable that residents in Burlington and more broadly Halton, but for sure in Burlington, our numbers are still per capita lower than our neighbors, right? That's again reflective of our community wanting to do their part. So that's great. It's just our culture. The challenge, though, is that the infections that have occurred in our community have largely been in long-term care, some of the more serious outbreaks, and our vulnerable population. So we've had a lot of deaths, and that's not okay. That's horrible. That's tragic. And so Burlington's death rate is up there because it has affected our vulnerable populations more.
What is your stance on residents from the gray zone, which is the lockdown zone, coming into Halton and Burlington? Are you telling me to stay away?
I am, Khaled. We can convene this way virtually.
Yeah, for the last 8
So you're going to want to read the statement that I put out today.
Okay.
So it was really restating the statement that myself and Jane McKenna put out in October, but amplifying again for people not to travel outside your region. And really, whether you're in lockdown or not in lockdown, we should really be staying as local as possible. The directives from the province, the directives from our own medical officer of health are actually to stay home. As much as possible, only go out for essential trips. So that's school, that's work, that's medical appointments. I would include recreation in there. I think that's really important to keep our bodies healthy and fit and get outside. But stay local. And my message to the folks in lockdown, your businesses need you now more than ever. Please support them. Curbside pickup, online ordering. Buy a gift card from a restaurant. So give them some hope that when they maybe get out of, we'll get out of this one day, but when they get out of it, they'll have people coming and they've got a source of income now and they'll welcome people in the new year. So that's my message to the folks in lockdown is your own communities need you. And it's really risky to be traveling to other regions. And unfortunately, though, and I've heard what prompted me to reissue that statement again is Black Friday. And I've heard from parents, from employees at retail outlets, they're making minimum wage. They have been told to expect crowds. They know what's coming, and so people are concerned, and they should be. And how can you manage? We even somebody from my office reached out to one of our big malls. It is a regional mall. It's always been a regional destination. We have a few stores like that, and they're not turning anybody away. I don't know how they're going to manage crowd control inside if they don't have people posted at the entryways. So. You're not going to catch me out shopping. I'll be click shopping. We did it early in the pandemic, people. We can do it again. And
Sure.
so many, I've gotten bombarded with emails about, Black Friday sales. It's free shipping. It's easy returns. I mean, come on, we can do this without putting anyone else at risk. So that is my advice, which actually isn't mine. It's from the Premier, it's from our medical officer of health, it's from any health official you want to ask right now. And so anyway, that statement went out, which was be kind to your own local business. Stay home as much as possible.
Let's talk. So as a company, we always, we do contests. Whenever we do contests, we try to buy local gift cards, right? Kind of support credit, things like that. And then I always try to skip Uber and skip the dish and just pick it up, and then I tip them on the pickup, just because it's a little rough right now. So,
yeah,
so I try to do as much as possible. What do you do as a mayor to support, local?
I order out, I order in,
Yeah.
and I tip a lot.
You live, sorry, what was that last part?
I tip higher than I did before COVID. I was a good tipper before, but yeah, I call it kind of the danger pay premium. So
yeah.
I really don't want to come out like Nas. We're almost on speed dial with the pizzeria that's a couple blocks from me. Every week we order it at least once, and I know the guy really well, and we have a nice little chat through the door. He drops it off on the porch, and
Nice.
And I give him a nice tip.
And
every
what
so that's what we do.
What are the small business saying to you? Like what are they saying?
Don't close us. They really they don't want to be closed, and I get that. And if and you've heard me say this before, that our goal really has to be open with restrictions, and some of the restrictions might get tighter. So I'm all for keeping restaurants open, but the best advice would be to eat with only your own family. That's the safest thing to do. And because otherwise you're getting too close to people that you don't live with, and you could be infecting each other. Some restaurants are almost all restaurants take contact information at the door. They could check licenses and addresses at the door if they chose. I know some of the gyms locally have suspended membership travel privileges. We thank them for taking that step voluntarily. I know when I got my nails done on the weekend. It's lovely.
Is that perfect?
It's purpley blue with sparkles and stars. And
that's cool, actually.
Cool. It is cool. They take my temperature when I come in.
Oh, wow.
I have to fill out a health screening form. They take my temperature. I can't just walk in. We got a call from the car, let them know that we're there. They usher us in orderly fashion, so there's not a queuing of people at the door. So they've gone well above and beyond. But the great thing is I feel safe when I go in there because they've taken these steps. So if I can send a message to our businesses, is think about what steps you could voluntarily take to make sure you are never the source of an outbreak, to make sure you're keeping your staff safe, keep your customers safe, and stay open. Because I believe if everyone kind of went that extra mile, then we could get out of this. We could keep our businesses open. They can't afford to close. They can't afford the yo-yo. It's open, it's closed. How do you plan, especially if you have perishable goods that you're ordering? You can't plan for that. So, so lockdown is a blunt instrument, and it punishes everybody, including the conscientious businesses. So I'm going to try to work with my community and my business community and residents to do the right thing voluntarily to keep us out of that forever, hopefully.
Restaurant in Toronto has been getting a lot of media play for, I think, the wrong reasons. But I'll bring it up to you. Do you think Toronto, you obviously heard about Adamson's barbecue, defied orders, and now he's looking at 9 charges, no business license. They're going hard on him. At the end of the day, do you think Toronto handled it correctly, and what would Burlington or Halton have done?
I absolutely believe now is the time to put charges in place for violators. We have to. So if you want to fight the rule, then do it democratically. Write a letter, as we're good in Halton, and me issue statements, write letters, get on the phone to your MPP and say, we want to be open with restrictions, and here's all the restrictions. But until the lockdown regions get a handle on their numbers, you're closed.
Yeah.
And so same with people who are having the big parties. I would throw the book at them because we're not fooling around anymore. We've been in this for long enough that people know what the rules, they know how it spreads, and they know that they're putting themselves and everybody else at risk. So I absolutely support the approach that they took. Zero tolerance. You are breaking the rules. You are well aware. It's not like, oh, I didn't know. And, proceed accordingly, because, that encourages all the other businesses to open. And pretty soon, people, you get your hospitals overwhelmed. Guess what happens then? You need cancer surgery? Good luck. And then all the other medical conditions that people are struggling with, which are the vast majority of hospital usage, by the way, if we get overwhelmed with COVID, then our health as a community on all those indicators falls apart. And we're looking at very, very serious health challenges province-wide. So we can't fool around here.
I agree. I mean, the only thing is, though, I think they allowed them to stay in business or actually have a full day of business, right? But then tomorrow,
before shutting them down?
Yeah.
Oh, well, no, they should have shut them down the day they opened.
Yeah. So, and then tomorrow they're expecting a bunch of businesses to open. So anyway, we'll see what happens.
Well, if the message now, so I missed that part of it. I knew they'd shut them down and issued charges. So no, you've got to nip this in the bud, or what happens is exactly now you've got fires starting all over the place and businesses opening, and good luck keeping up with that. And, and they probably need to look at what does open with restrictions look like in lockdown? Is there a way? Maybe it does come down to checking everybody at the door for ID and you don't come in with anybody you don't live with. I don't know. Yeah. It would at least allow some openings, and because it sounds like it's a free for all now, and that's gonna defeat the purpose of the lockdown. Anyways, that's some free advice.
Okay. So another bombshell that came up today, the Auditor General came out today, coming out with a report on the handling on COVID-19. And, obviously there's a lot of layers to this, but the main thing was that David Williams, the Chief Medical Officer of the province, said something, and there was a lot of tables and some of the stuff didn't get through. What are your thoughts on this?
So I have been in meetings since 7:45 this morning, so I have not had an opportunity to fully digest any of that. So all I'm going to say is I have great respect for the Auditor General and that independent review, and we all need to take it seriously. So I'm going to have to review that. We can talk about it next week. Okay.
And another question. How's the hospitalizations in Halton and Burlington, or mainly in Burlington right now?
I haven't looked at the numbers as of today, but we've been low. We've been pretty good, fluctuating between 1 or 2 or 3. So we're good. But as I said, our hospital is almost at capacity, largely because we're looking after all the other sick people. So it's concerning. That's what we heard from our medical officer of health, is that we don't want to start seeing our numbers go up, because that will have a ripple effect, a domino effect on all our healthcare needs, all of which are important.
And some good news questions. What is the holiday savings pass?
Oh, that's something from our Parks and Recreation. No, it's from tourism, getting my agencies mixed up. Yeah, so I don't know the ins and outs and all the details, but it's a way for you to save money and patronize local. See that theme? Local, check it out. It's all over Twitter and other places as well. And again, it's a way for you to support our local businesses.
Cool. And Santa's Holiday Magic Trail.
Yes, we're kind of doing a reverse well, let me put it this way, a dispersed parade. So instead of a single route and everybody comes to line that route, we are sending Santa far and wide to all the four corners of Burlington, north, south, east, and west, different neighborhoods. So over a whole week. So it will be, or longer, actually, there's a number of dates. And so you can go online and see when he will be in your area, but we're not giving a route because we don't want people to gather. So it'll be, you know, the closest you'll get is he'll come to Aldershot, or he'll come to Tyndega, or he'll come to Mountainside, or Central Burlington, etc., or the Orchard. So, but you don't know any more than that. You don't know exactly the time of day. But be on watch. It'll be kind of fun this way. It'll be kind of like Find Santa. Santa coming. But Santa will be in an antique fire truck and escorted by some of our finest first responders who will sound the alarm when Santa's close. So if you hear sirens, this is the one time sirens actually might mean a good thing. Santa's close by. Go out, stay on your sidewalk, you know, don't chase, don't gather in the community, but Santa and a small little escort will be driving around neighborhoods. So
if a child does this, they'll blow the horn?
They might, yes.
Yeah.
But don't give your letter, don't approach the truck. Santa's not stopping for photos. Don't try to give them your letters. Use Canada Post for that. They'll gladly receive the letters and deliver them to Santa when he has time to read them. So yes, so but you can see Santa and wave at Santa, and I think this will be fun. It's kind of like a scavenger hunt. Where's Waldo, where's Santa moment.
Cool. And then anything else you'd like to talk about?
There's lots going on. So we can talk about non-COVID stuff too, if you want. So.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Just, okay. Yeah, go ahead, please. I'd love to talk about non-COVID stuff.
I do too, actually. Sometimes it's nice for a change of pace. So we, at the Halton Regional Council table today, we passed a number of resolutions, and one of them was related to the changes to the Conservation Authorities Act, which you may have heard about. Snuck into a budget bill as Schedule 6 and really guts the Conservation Authority. It damages the ability of conservation authorities to, to make sure that development doesn't happen in floodplains, which puts people's life at risk. Hinders their ability to protect the environment, mucks about with the services they provide. So you look at Halton region, for example, most of their park services are revenue generating. They're not on the tax base at all. So you're able to get people close to nature, and it doesn't cost the taxpayer a cent. So they're mucking about with that, and then they're changing governance models. They're really interfering with who can sit on boards and what their responsibilities when they sit around the table. I am part of a charter directors course right now through the Directors College, and we're learning about good governance. And I am sure that if these changes go through, this will be a case study of what not to do in one of our future modules, because it's all wrong from a governance and decision-making standpoint. So broad brushstrokes, those are the changes, but the most serious of them really will potentially compromise public health and safety. And that's my biggest concern. And so we passed a unanimous resolution at Regional Council asking the government not to enact Schedule 6, to stand down from these changes for all the reasons and more, and to do some further consultation. City of Burlington also individually did a similar resolution on Monday. So we are hopeful. It's also coming. I have a Association of Municipalities of Ontario meeting on Friday. I have an Ontario Big City Mayors Caucus on Friday. That item is on both of those agendas, and I can tell you, while there are some conservation authorities that some folks feel could use some updates, that's fine, but don't take a sledgehammer to it. Let those local communities work it out. But there will be resolutions coming to those tables as well. So a huge concern across the province from municipalities across the province.
Has the province answered your calls in regards to this issue?
Well, let's give them time. We just passed our resolution this morning.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and actually, in addition to that, the Conservation Halton Board, I sit on the board. The board chair, Jerry Smallgage, who happens to be a Burlington resident, also the executive director of Burlington Hydro, he signed a letter that was also jointly signed by all 4 Halton mayors, myself included, with the same message, and really laying out, here's how Conservation Halton operates, here's how we do what we do, which is really good, very good relationship with the development industry, streamlined approvals process. We focus on the business that we're in, the programs we provide are revenue generating and don't cost the taxpayer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you know, we've done a lot of work over the last 6 years that I've been on the board to make those improvements. So I would say we're kind of the gold standard of conservation authorities. So I would say don't treat us all with this, paint us all with the same brush. If you know of individual areas or circumstances or conservation authorities that need some assistance, then help them. Or suggest to their local boards that they, you know, get their act together. But you don't do it this way with a kind of a sledgehammer. So we'll see where that goes.
Update next week.
Well, and then actually there was another resolution that myself and my fellow councillor Nissan in Ward 3 brought, and this is also a bigger than Burlington issue, but started in Burlington. So we've got this application from Nelson Quarry to expand into the golf course to the east and to the north, into green space in the north. And they wanted to, they've put in their applications, and the Ministry of Natural Resources said that they didn't have to hold a public meeting, which is a statutory requirement, by the way, under legislation, because they couldn't hold it in person. And so they gave them kind of a bye on that. And so our resolution was, no. Everybody has adapted to a virtual environment. With a Zoom platform, people can use a standard telephone and call in and participate in a meeting. So there are no barriers truly to participating. There's no reason why you can't have a virtual meeting. Our very first virtual public meeting on a development application in Burlington had almost 800 people on the call. So it can be done. Yeah. So our resolution was this is not appropriate. There has to be a general public meeting where everybody hears the same information at the same time. There's an accountability to that. It can be recorded. It can be, you know, they're wanting to have individual conversations with people by appointment, and there's no accountability in that. And so we deserve, under legislation, a public meeting. There's a way to do it with new technology. And so that was our resolution to the ministry, to insist that a virtual public meeting take place. And we're happy to help them because we know how to do it. We've done many of them.
What'd they say?
Well, we just passed that resolution.
Okay, sorry.
So,
I'm getting ahead of myself.
Give them 44 hours.
Okay.
At least. So next week, hopefully I will have an update for you. Next week, we can talk about whether we have gotten a response. So hopefully it'll be favorable. There really is no valid reason why they wouldn't insist that this be followed, because there is a way to do it.
Anything else?
Tomorrow, official plan, final step. The Halton region has endorsed the changes that they have approved the draft that we sent them with all the changes around the downtown, all that good stuff. But they sent it back to us to endorse their changes.
Okay, all right.
They've incorporated all our changes plus some in a giant official plan. They send it back for endorsement. So this is little 2 steps. So we're not quite done yet. But once we vote tomorrow at a planning meeting followed by a special council meeting, then the region signs it and we've got ourselves a new plan. So it will be appealed. We have no doubt about that. Okay. But we will at least have a plan that has been endorsed by City Council, signed off on by the region, and even though it won't be legal until any appeals that may come are exhausted, we can and will use that to inform decision making on new applications. So this will be a very happy day. for Burlington and for me, and it's been a long journey getting there.
And by the time it's approved, that's when I'll move to Burlington.
That's right. Well, that might not be for a few years.
Oh, really?
You know,
Okay.
The
It might be
appeal
before that.
process doesn't work quickly. Another reason we should get rid of it. But anyways.
All right. 31 minutes in. It felt like.
Alrighty.
I'll catch you next week.
Good to talk with you. See you, Khaled.
Okay.